suggestions, so please let me know in the comments down below what you think is ranked too high, too low. Yeah, so without further ado, let us get into our first tier. Our first tier in this tier list is going to be titled MVP Frontrunners. There are 3 quarterbacks in this tier list that I think are all everyone's favorites to win the MVP award heading into next year. Now, I think these are also the 3 most likely guys to do it, and these names are not gonna surprise you. So let's start it off with, we're gonna get Lamar Jackson as the first quarterback in this category. And Lamar, he had a phenomenal season last year. He's always been the best rushing quarterback in the league, and he made a very solid argument in these last couple of seasons that he's the best passing quarterback as well. He's an unreal dual threat, and a lot of people think that he should have won it last year, but I'm more than happy with the way that it went. But statistically, yes, unreal season, and I think he doesn't show any signs of slowing down. He's still on the up and coming. So we're going to have many more years of Lamar in his prime playing like this. And I think every year he's going to be at that top of the list because there's no one else that can really run and pass at this level ever. He is an anomaly. Number 2 on this list, we're going to get the former MVP himself, or the current reigning MVP, in Josh Allen. Josh Allen, much of the same, a great runner, an exceptional passer, but he did it with less help last season. At least Lamar got Derrick Henry, both of their wide receiver cores, nothing that noteworthy, but, Josh Allen, I'm glad he got it. I think he was more valuable to his team in the way that the award describes. And I think that there's a fair chance he could go for a second this year. I mean, he really did put the team on his back. I don't think that, they made that many savvy moves to bolster the defense. So if they want to have success, it's going to have to be through him in large part. And I think that he will deliver, and he'll be at the top of this conversation once again at the end of the year. And then finally, our third quarterback in this list, another guy who was in the talks last year but really didn't have the wins to support it. This has to be Joe Burrow. And when we talk about purely passing stats, like yards, touchdowns, whatnot, Joe Burrow was the best. He was the most productive passer last year. He throws a great ball. He's got 2 exceptional wide receivers, and they're surrounding him with tight end talent as well in Noah Fant and Mike Gesicki. So offensively, it's bountiful for the Bengals, but I do think an MVP does have to make the playoffs. That's kind of how that award typically goes. And so if the Bengals can carve out a first place in this division, I think he can easily win it. And then if they can't, then I think it's going to be more of the same argument. Obviously, if you make it in the wild card and you have the stats that you did last year, but let's say you're the 5th seed, not barely scraping in as the 7th, an argument could be made. But I do think that Joe Burrow's biggest hurdle is going to be the fact that he plays alongside Lamar Jackson in that division. So he has the passing stats to outdo him, but he doesn't have the wins and he doesn't have the rushing stats. So it is kind of a harder battle for Burrow. So that rounds up our first tier, our first 3 quarterbacks in the league. And our second tier is going to be for MVP hopefuls. I think these are 4 guys that I think they themselves would like to be in that conversation. I think people around the league are maybe floating their names this tier of, yeah, they could go out and win an MVP. And the first name, it's not gonna shock you, but well, really none of these teams are, I feel like. But yeah, I do think they're like a tier below. They're not as exceptional as the last three, at least in last year's production. Those first three guys, they were just on another level. These next four guys, I think they're all still brilliant, but they're not the front runners. They are more hoping to land that trophy. And the first name on this list, Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, undeniably, when you think about the success, the greatest quarterback in the league at the moment, the AFC, and almost the entire league runs through him at this point. But if we're talking about actually in-season production, his numbers are down. The last 2 years have not been that eye-popping, not even really Pro Bowl caliber when you're considering all the other three guys that have been running up the stats, running up the wins. I mean, the Chiefs are usually at the top of the conversation when it comes to 1 seed and 2 seed, but the load that Patrick Mahomes has been carrying in the last 2 seasons is a bit less. Like, his first MVP, hats off. The next MVP, still well deserved, but I think now, with the last 2 seasons, we have kind of seen a little bit more shift in them getting defensive stops and kind of just getting lucky. It's not necessarily that he's making defenses look like Swiss cheese anymore. He's still a winner. He's still a certified winner, but it's not really like the way it was. But I'm never gonna rule him out of this conversation. I think that Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's in the league, I'm gonna give him a fighting chance to win that MVP award, because take a look at the talent on his team even now. You got Hollywood Brown, you have Xavier Worthy, you have Rashid Rice, you have an aging Travis Kelce, but it's still, you know, a top 3, top 2 tight end in the league. Top 3. And yeah, and so I'm never going to count Pat out of this conversation, but I will take him out of that top tier. Then number 2, we have Jared Goff. Goff has turned it back up in this second half of his career. The stint with the Lions has been getting better and better. Really the only thing that's a big question mark for this season is the loss of Ben Johnson. If Ben Johnson isn't on this offense, will he regress? Will Jared Goff go back to how it was in like the first season with the Lions, or earlier in his career before he got McVay? I want to say no. And I think just the fact that Goff has been producing and he's in a much better mindset, I feel like the city of Detroit has really claimed him, and they've got an outstanding supporting cast. I feel like he'll still be floating around that combo, and he'll be putting up massive numbers, like Pro Bowl at least numbers. And if the Lions really manage to pop off on the offensive side, even without Ben Johnson, I think he's still an MVP hopeful, but he's not a front runner. And the third guy is going to be Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts, after winning the Super Bowl, there's going to be more attention on this offense, and I think he has enough positive buzz that people are going to be into this as an MVP hopeful candidate. Like, you look at the surrounding cast of Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, the O-line. You kind of do think he is primed for success, and we know that, like, those 15 rushing touchdowns off the tush push are coming regardless. So it's just a matter of, like, can he push 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns through the air? And if he can do that, then he'll be exactly where it was 2 seasons ago, where he like kind of fell shy to Mahomes, but like he is definitely a MVP conversationalist quarterback. I know under Kellen Moore last year we didn't see him throw it all that amazingly, but just he threw it well. He's still amazing on the deep ball, but he's not throwing as much as he was before because they just didn't need it. But with a switch in offensive coordinator, maybe they go a little bit more pass heavy, and maybe he gets it done this time. And finally, the fourth and final quarterback in this category, this rank, is Jaden Daniels. Now, this one I think is more from an organizational and fan standpoint. Realistically, do I think in year 2 Jaden Daniels can go out and get the MVP? I don't think so. I feel like we've seen this happen a lot where a rookie quarterback has a fantastic rookie year and we start putting our eggs in that basket, whether in fantasy or in actual success. And Jaden Daniels did have a great rookie year. Took them all the way to the NFC Championship game and really stood out. And then they make some moves. They go get Laramie Tunsil, they go get Deebo Samuel, and they're making these moves to, get to the Super Bowl. And along the way, maybe Jaden Daniels does pick up that MVP. But it's too early. I feel like we saw it last year with CJ Stroud, where a rookie here can be great, and you can load up the offense to build around that, but things just don't necessarily go that way. I think it's too early to call, but I do have him in this category because if you take what they did last year and you add Deebo Samuel, I think that it could go his way. I could see a reality in which if Jaden Daniels actually does improve upon the season that he had last year with the buzz and the hype of the Commanders and him having a solid wide receiver too, they could be good enough that he wins the MVP. My biggest concern is Terry McLaurin. If Terry McLaurin does not get this extension with the Commanders, if he gets traded or if he sits out, I am much lower on this team. You're talking about a wide receiver group that is being led by Deebo, and you have an aging Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, other surrounding pieces that are, they produce, but they're really no names, like Olamide Zaccheaus, who's the guy that turned up at the very end for them. I forget. But it's just I really don't trust the Commanders if they don't have Terry. But if they get Terry again, I would very easily keep Jaden Daniels in this range, though I think it is a bit high. And so, with that, we can move into our third tier of quarterback. And in this range, we're going to have 5 guys. And the title of this tier is We Got Our Guy. These are 5 dudes that I think the franchises are looking at who is starting, and they believe that they can compete with anyone. he's had two impressive seasons with the Bucks. I did not expect him to be this good. Like, even though I am kind of a bigger guy, I just didn't envision him having the season that he had last year. And so I think seeing him make the Pro Bowl 2 years in a row, keep this team at the top of the division, the Buccaneers are, at this point, high on him. I think that they're very, very content with Baker being their star quarterback, essentially. Number 2 in this tier, we've got Justin Herbert. I think Herbert came into the league gunslinging. This guy could throw the ball like nobody's business. And even though he wasn't called upon to throw as much at the start of last season, he is still that guy. I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with the discourse surrounding Justin Herbert because I think sometimes he is very underrated, and I think other times he is massively overrated. It really depends. Like, his early career production is definitely there. He can throw it for 5,000 yards, and like, if he had the weapons, 35 to 40 touchdowns, like I could see him being an MVP caliber quarterback. But it's just like, at this point with Jim Harbaugh, I don't think that he's really going to be asked to do all that. Do I think he's capable? Yes. Has he done it? No. He hasn't had the amount of success that I think ideally he is capable of at this point in his career. But he's just playing in a tough AFC where you have Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar all solidly, like, undeniably better than him. So it's like being the 5th best guy in the conference. It's gonna be rough. So yeah, he's kind of like an afterthought, but he is really good. And I think the franchise, like, there's no way they move on from Justin Herbert. He's too good. And then the third guy we have in this category is gonna be the guy who just got paid, Brock Purdy. Purdy, yeah, the move this offseason really seals the deal for this conversation. 2 seasons ago, Purdy MVP finalist, and for good reason. He was wheeling and dealing, splicing it up. But last year, he did regress, and so hopefully we see him return to form. That was 2 years ago, but the offense is closer to what it was last year than it was going to be 2 years ago. It really is just, is CMC around? I think if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, that really elevates everything that they do. It makes defenses have to think so much harder about what they need to do to stop this offense, and that opens up everything for Purdy. But yeah, the 49ers, they know they got their guy. They just gave him, $60 million a year. Do I think he should have gotten that contract? Personally, no. I don't think so. I think he had a really good tail end to his rookie year. I think he had a really good second year. But last year showed what it can be like if the surrounding cast and crew is not all available or all healthy. And it's not like they didn't have anyone. They still had Kittle, they still had Debo, and they still had Shanahan. But it's just like, still well. And it pissed Rodgers off. He gets a couple MVPs, and then has a bad year, leaves the franchise. Is Jordan Love going to keep them afloat? Is it going to be worth that price that they paid? And so far, I think absolutely. I think they're absolutely happy with the choices that they made. It looks like they have their franchise guy for sure. And they've gone to the playoffs 2 straight years on the rim. So I don't think that they're questioning their decision making at all. And yeah, I think he signed a max contract already. So it's like a lot of these guys, Herbert, Birdie, Love, they've been paid. Baker hasn't been paid quite to that level. I think it was like a 3-year, $100 million. So that's a good discount that lets them do other things. But I do think like Baker could get an extension based on the way that he's been playing. With some big bucks. And finally, the 5th and final quarterback in this tier, it's gonna be CJ Stroud. I think the Texans, they're not going to look to move on from CJ Stroud because I don't think anyone expected when he was drafted that they were going to go from the arguably the worst team in the league, tied for the worst team in the league, to back-to-back, not only playoff clinching, but playoff victories in those seasons. It's just like an unreal comeback for the franchise. And the franchise, I don't think that they're dumb. I don't think that they're ran that poorly. They're not going to do them like Baker, where they have all this unprecedented success, and then they just ditch him for no real reason. I feel like they have some intelligence, so they're going to respect that CJ Stroud is their guy, and they're going to pay him real big. And yeah, he's going to stay here long term. Right? So the the 4th tier in this 13-tier tier list is called Please Be Healthy. And there are 3 guys in this tier. I think that their season lives and dies with the health of their quarterback. Some of these guys are injury prone. I would say 2 are injury prone. The last one, not necessarily as much, more of an aging guy. And I think these teams are happy with how they play when they're on the field, but they're just crossing their fingers, begging that these quarterbacks can make it from the start to the finish line this season, because that's their biggest concern. Not really how they'll play, more just that they will play. So, first, our most obvious in this category, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua showed us 2 years ago what he really can be if he plays a full season. It was the only full season of his career thus far, and it was pretty magnificent. You know, it felt like a return on investment for where they drafted him. They got Tyreek Hill and that big move, big shocking move, and with Jalen Waddle, all the speed, they took off. No pun intended. And didn't really pan out exactly how they were hoping for, but Tua was a star. He had the most passing yards of anyone in the league. He had a very, very impressive year. And I think a lot of people were thinking the same thing was going to happen again. We saw Tyreek win the number 1 in the top players 100. We saw the contract extension that he got. And it was just like such a disappointing year last season because of the concussion. And I feel like when he's on the field, they're good. Well, okay, maybe not against winning teams, but they beat the bad teams convincingly enough that you have faith in them. But it's like one more concussion, this guy's going to be a serious, like, ragdoll trying to play quarterback. It is at this point. I think another concussion could be lethal for Tua. And so, hopefully they just protect him and he learns how to slide properly. Because I don't want to see that happen. I don't think anyone wants to see that happen. But yeah, it's really just a matter of will Tua play the full season without getting concussed. And if he does, I think he's good. I think he's their guy. But I think like one more injury and they really are going to have to move on because they're gonna have to retire Tua. Tua's gonna have to retire. The next guy on this tier is Dak Prescott. Now Dak, when he is healthy, can play really good football. It's really just what's dictated his whole career up until this point. Is he healthy? Yes. Cowboys are good going to the playoffs. Is he hurt? They suck. And so it's like, after another major injury and being this old, I'm not that concerned with the age. But if you take a look at his last 5 seasons, he's played a full season once, which was 2 years ago. And he was in an MVP conversation that year. So we shouldn't discount his abilities. He is a great quarterback when he's on the field. I think it's been something or another, and it's really not his fault at all. I think a lot of the injuries are freak injuries, really bad ones, but he has been spending a lot of time on the sidelines in these last 5 years, and so the Cowboys, once again, it's like they really shat themselves last year, and the team cannot compete at all if he is not playing. But if he's playing, heck, they can win the NFC East. It really doesn't matter. The parity in that division is so strong. So I think the Cowboys are just praying that he's around and healthy, and that he is fully recovered from his injury last season, because like they don't have a lot of time left. And finally, the third and final quarterback in this tier has got to be Matthew Stafford. Now Stafford is not as injury prone as these other 2 guys, but he is on the very tail end of his career. He's the oldest quarterback left in the league, outside of Joe Flacco. And he's just, if he can hold it together for like this season and play still at the same rate that he's been playing, they have the pieces. Like offensively, I feel like they can get it done. Defensively, surprisingly more adequate. It's like they're very close to not knowing what their quarterback situation is going to be. So it's just like, he can't really miss time. If he can play the whole year, all 17 games, maybe they rest him the last game. Maybe you get 16 games of Matthew Stafford plus 4 playoff games. He can retire after that. I feel like they'll be happy. They'll let him go to rest. Maybe he'll still feel like he has some more in him and he'll continue to play. But I think that's what the Rams are desperately hoping for, because they've done a good job. Like, offensive still explosive. He's still got Puka, who's early in his career, and Devontae Adams is still a baller. Kyron Williams is great. So it's just like, can we get Matthew Stafford to stay healthy the whole year? And if they can, hey man, they've got as good of a shot as anyone. Alright, that brings us to our 5th tier. Our 5th tier only has 2 quarterbacks in it, and this tier is titled I Hate the West. And these 2 guys, they're competing for what I think is the 16th spot in the league. These are 2 guys that are both good. They both are good. And the reason why this is called I Hate the West is because they just play in stacked divisions where they get overshadowed. And so, naturally, they have to fall to the position of 3rd best in their else they could play that they would shine better. But it's just like the other quarterbacks in their respective divisions, I think, are clearly better. And so, number one, we have Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I think you can make a solid argument for him being not quite on the tier of the rest of these guys, but he had a like a critic-defying rookie year. As soon as the Broncos picked him, there was all this chatter of he got taken way too early. What are the Broncos doing? This is an extreme reach. This guy, he's played so much in college. He's kind of older, and it panned out perfectly for them. Bo Nix had an incredible first year, and it's just really about building on that success. If you can build on it, have an even better year this year, I think the defense is better. People will very much start to look at him as like, oh, he's here to stay. But it's hard to say that out of one good year, and it's also harder to draw the attention to him because Jaden Daniels had an even more impressive rookie year. So it's like, I think the Broncos country is very high on him. I think some other people are also very high, but he's not turning as many heads because, number one, Jaden Daniels exists, and number two, he plays in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think it's going to be easy to convince people that you're better than either of those guys. Like, I don't know, he might have a better season than Herbert, but even then, it's like, we've seen what Justin Herbert can do. He's still not living up to what Justin Herbert did in year one, and he's certainly not living up to what Mahomes did in year one. So these two guys kind of just overshadow him, but he's a good quarterback, and I am excited to see what he has coming up this year. And number two, we have Kyler Murray. I think Kyler is such an interesting guy to rank because he's like, I want to say he's in the top half of the league. I feel like in my gut he should be higher, but really he's not. Like, I'm looking at a lot of these guys, I would rather have them than Kyler Murray when it comes to everyone in the top tier. Burrow, Allen, Lamar, easy, no question. Then we come down Mahomes, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels. What Jaden Daniels did in year one, I feel like, is on par, if not better, with the best we've seen from Kyler Murray. So it's like, yeah, he's younger, he's fresher, we don't know what his ceiling is. I'm taking Jaden Daniels. Jalen Hurts, I think he's better. I think he can throw the ball better. He's more built. His rushing ability, maybe Kyler does have Hurts stopped, but as a thrower, I'd rather have Hurts. And then Goff has just been on a tear, and Mahomes is Mahomes. So that's out of the way. You get to the next tier, I think, with Herbert, Love, Stroud. Everyone would agree, for sure. When you come to Purdy, the high has just already been eclipsed. Kyler Murray's best season versus what Brock Purdy did 2 years ago. You're taking Purdy. And with Purdy, he has younger, more upside. You're gonna think, yeah, he can get to that level again. Whereas Kyler, it's like, he had a great sophomore season. He's been very steadily good, but it's just been like slightly above the pack good. They've never been able to dominate the division or get like any sort of real traction. So you're sticking with him because he has like a good quarterback, no doubt, but he's not really a game changer like that. I think for Baker, it's slightly a different circumstance because Baker has gotten the luxury of playing in the NFC South the last 2 years, but his production has also just been absurd. So at this point, yeah, I'd much rather have Baker Mayfield knowing what he's capable of doing. You could say that's a surrounding cast issue. And yeah, I'd probably agree. Like, Kyler Murray could be a better quarterback than Baker, and there were parts of Baker's career where that clearly seemed like the case. But if we're just taking eye for eye, what's going on right now, I'd rather have Baker. And then between Stafford, Dak, and Tua, Dak healthy, no question. Tua healthy, yeah, I'd rather have Tua, like what he did 2 years ago. Still, once again, I would argue better than Kyler's best year. And Stafford, he's old, so we can't look at his career best, but he is like kind of recent off of a Super Bowl win where he had a great year, and since then it hasn't been quite as good in production. So I could see that argument. Realistically, I could see someone saying I'd rather have Kyler Murray than Matthew Stafford, but Stafford does have that like veteran pocket presence, and I think that like I don't think I would be higher on the Rams if Kyler Murray was on the Rams. Yeah, like that doesn't wow me. I feel like Stafford is a good fit for that team, and so yeah, Kyler Murray kind of falls to this like 16th, 17th conversation. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm disrespecting him, but at the same time, I can't really see any other place where I would rather have him. I think that he's like average. He's an average. Skilled, definitely skilled, but he's just good enough to get to the playoffs on a good year and not really anything more than that. I haven't seen anything that makes me think like Pro Bowl definite all-pro type or MVP. Like, they're also just not building around him well, so that's on the Cardinals, but it's just his career trajectory after that year where they fell apart. I think it definitely has gone down. Now, the biggest thing that he's known for is Call of Duty. The double XP weekend. That's his reputation. So, it's unfortunate that this is where his career has come to. But I think he still has a lot left in the tank. He's still got many years ahead of him. That'll be good. And maybe a change of scenery will be nice. And we'll talk about him in a higher regard. But as of right now, on the cards, I still mostly look at him as like, yeah, just run of the mill. And I think we're gonna take a short break here, so I'll be back with the rest of these tiers in 1 second. Alright, so moving into our 6th category, or 6th tier in this 13-tiered tier list, we have new team who dis. And this is a handful of guys that are a little more veterans and more career bounced around kind of guys. They're not on their first team, they're not on their second team. They're essentially serviceable journeymen at this point in their career. We've got 3 guys here for you. So, the first one in this category is going to be Sam Darnold. Now, some of you might be looking at Sam Darnold in this tier and be thinking, this is too low. He just had a very impressive season with the Vikings, went to the Pro Bowl, led them almost to the first position in a loaded division, the best division in football last year. He should get some more credit. And while if he were on the Vikings, I would agree. He's not on the Vikings anymore. This is a new supporting cast, a new offense, a new coaching system. And we've never seen years upon years of success for Sam Darnold. That was the first time in his career we had seen him really get any sort of traction or success, positive career development, and now it's I think, quite frankly, a much worse environment. The O-line, way worse. The defense, worse. Yes, the receiving core, it's not the worst in the league, but you're going from the best wide receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson, to JSN and Cooper Kupp, and really the remains of Cooper Kupp. So I do think that, yeah, the White House also take a downgrade. So I'm not that high on Sam Darnold. I wasn't really that high on him last year going into the season for a much different reason. And without last year, I would be saying he's a backup. There's no way I'd be talking about him like he's a starter. And I think there's potential for him to do well. Like, the guys that he has to throw to, they're good weapons. They have a good running back core. I feel like he can have some success. But really, I don't trust the offensive line. I don't think that they give Gino any time to get the ball out. I think a lot of the errors and interceptions he threw was really on the O-line. And I think that Darnold, without good protection, is going to regress heavily. Overall for the Seahawks, I don't hate the move. I don't think that the contract was bad at all. You get younger with bringing in Darnold. So overall, I feel like it was a savvy-ish kind of move to get him there. But I don't really fear this team in any way. I don't think that they're making any sort of noise. I don't even think they're making the playoffs. So, yeah, and that's just how I see it. Not everyone's going to see it like that. But I don't think that this change of scenery is going to be good for Darnold. I think, if anything, it's going to hurt the career year that he just had. Next up, in our journeyman group, is going to be Russell Wilson. And it's crazy to think about Russell Wilson as a journeyman after spending all that time in Seattle. Now, he has done 2 years in Denver, now done a year in Pittsburgh, and now is doing a year in New York. He's getting bounced around. And while I would like to say he will be successful, I don't know that for sure. I just feel like that the Giants are kind of dysfunctional at this point. But like 3 years ago, they were pretty good. And then 2 years ago happened, and then last year happened. And I think it's a clear and obvious upgrade from last season for the Giants. Now, do I think in this division it's good enough to make the playoffs? I don't think so. I think they're too stacked. I think that Russell Wilson is good. I think he has a lot of good ball left. He'll get Malik Neighbors the ball. But the surrounding casting crew, once again, is lackluster outside of Malik Neighbors. This team doesn't really have anything. Whereas last year, at least, they had great coaching, and yeah, they had Pickens. But I still like the running backs more in Pittsburgh. Overall, everything about Pittsburgh is more just a franchise geared towards success. And if Russell Wilson was the only guy here, maybe would I have more faith. But I feel like they're looking around. They have too many quarterbacks in that quarterback room to have him, have Winston, and have Jackson Dart. I don't think that their heart's in the right place. I feel like they are browsing their options. And once again, like, Russ got the job done last year. They went to the playoffs. But it's just like another year, another system, another offense to learn, new chemistry to build. We'll see. I think he'll have good games, but I'm not that threatened by this. this division. He's the fourth best quarterback. And it's not even like he's that bad. It's just a loaded division. And it is what it is. And finally, once again, we've got Geno Smith. Geno Smith joining Pete Carroll once again in Las Vegas. I think this is a huge win for Vegas, just to go from Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, who really can't get the ball. I mean, Aiden O'Connell was much more low-on than Minshew, but Minshew was also kind of horrendous at points last year. But Geno is a certified quarterback. He revived his career in Seattle. He's had very solid passing stats. I think that, yes, he will make some turnover-worthy plays, and I don't think that, like, Vegas has the best O-line. They're not really geared to compete right here, right now, but I think this team will be a lot more fun, and they should be a lot more functional, and they're not going to lose in idiotic ways as much. I feel like he'll maybe keep them kind of not in playoff contention, but like with the dream of the playoffs, whereas I don't think they were anywhere near that last year, so he's brought them back to some sort of relevance. But it is hard to say, like, will he be able to keep it up? I want to say that he will be able to, because, like, look at who's around him. You get Bowers, you get the wide receiver group, not as impressive, but Bowers is a nice guy. You have him reconnecting with Pete Carroll, which I think will be really big for Geno's mentality and attitude and success. And the running back, I think the running game will be huge. And so, as long as they can keep him up, I feel like he'll be able to do a solid job of helping them win games. But, yeah, all of these guys, they're just like, it's a bit harder to assess because, I mean, Russ not as much, but at least for Darnold and Geno, there have been points in their career where they're really bad. And I think you look at them now, and they're not the same guy. But once again, it's just like, you'd like to see consistency for a quarterback that has gotten out of a bad situation. And you do wonder, like, how much are they going to slip into their old ways now that they don't have that consistency? And for Russ, I think it's just like, he's getting to that point in his career where he's past his prime. I don't think he's bad, but he's past his prime. The let Russ cook era is not the same. Maybe he's not the reason why you're losing games, but he's just not that same stone cold killer that he was. And so he'll give you solid stats, but it's just not like the Russell Wilson of 5 years ago, even in the late stretch of Seattle. And yeah, he's really gonna end his career with no MVP nods ever, and that's okay. It is what it is. Yeah, that's who I've got. I think all of these guys, they're not really building for the future. It's building to stay relevant right now. That's really all it is. It's not. I don't see any of these guys as franchise material. It's just like, we don't want to be absolute garbage. We want to be kind of somewhat in contention. We want people talking about us. And so we have this guy that we're going to put out there. And I think it'll keep us competitive. But we're not hard rebuilding and we're not competing. They're all probably going to be mid. So yeah. Next up, in tier number 7, we have a tier of 3 quarterbacks titled Breakout SZN, and this one is a bit gimmicky, I will admit. It's just 3 guys who I feel like we're gonna see hopefully take leaps and bounds this year. These are all year 2 guys, and I'll just name them off from right now because there's no point in trying not to spoil it. It's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Michael Penix Jr. I think all of these guys are primed for more success in year 2 than they were in year 1. For Caleb Williams, it's offensive coordinator. We see Ben Johnson take over as head coach for Chicago, and I think coaching really was a big mismanagement of what was going on in year one of Caleb Williams. I feel like they brought him in, and it's not really something we talk about anymore of like, should they have kept Fields, should they have gone for Williams. I feel like there is a lot of upside and potential in Williams, and even though it was like a lackluster year, horrible end to the season with that stretch of all losses, Caleb Williams still shined at times. He still showed glimpses of greatness, and I think they're going to try their most to unlock that, and they're really gearing up on offense with Colston Loveland entering the mix, and you have Ben Johnson and Luther Burton III, all of these guys on top of Ramadan Sane and DJ Moore. And Kolkman. I feel like last year they had all these pieces, but they didn't have the coaching staff, and now you have Ben Johnson, the greatest offensive mind in the NFL at this current moment, and so, like, if he does break out, it's a point of concern, but I think this is it. I think this is like, okay, he's gonna have some success this year. We are going to have Caleb Williams in much better conversations this time next year. And then next up, we've got Drake May. I feel like people are awfully high on Drake May already, which is, it's flattering as a Patriots fan that people see potential in him. I think that he has a lot of intangibles and just like an ideal build, but we didn't get to see that much from him consistently last year. He entered the game a little bit later with us going out with Jacoby Brissett at the start of the year, and just, yeah, coaching was okay. We had no weapons really. We go get a running back, we go get a wide receiver, we go get a new head coach, we go get a new offensive coordinator, bring in McDaniels, bring in Vrabel. I feel like these are offensive upgrades. It's coaching upgrades. McDaniels is offensive upgrade. Plus we actually do bring in new offensive upgrades. I'm excited. I am excited for year 2 of Drake May. I think that, like, he's gonna let the ball fly all over the field. I know that Keyshawn Boutte and Mario Douglas are still primed to be in that wide receiver group, and props to them for making it. I feel like Bob Douglas is one that I like. Boutte, I feel like how much I want him to be good isn't translating as much as he has been able to contribute. Like, he's there at times, but he's not consistent. Like, sometimes we can't really depend on him. And Douglas, I want to see all these guys move forward together. I feel like hopefully Diggs opens up the field for the rest of them. But it would be great to see Bob Boutte and Drake May all take a step forward this year. I'm excited to see how they can do as a unit. And finally, Michael Penix Jr. Once again, it's like, I think this is a little bit different from the rest of the guys because he really only had 3 games. And I didn't even think we're going to see him at all this year or next year. But with the Kirk Cousins situation being so dire and disastrous, we already get to see what Michael Penix Jr. is like, and they're loaded. I mean, they have, their wide receiver group was doing terrific last year. Drake London, I think, was especially electric in the couple of games that he was playing. Penix was really targeting him. You've got Kyle Pitts, and it's like, it's Kyle Pitts, man. I don't know what to say. But Deshaun Robinson, this is definitely like a skilled offensive unit, and if Michael Penix Jr. is being given the keys for the entire year, we could see him light it up. So, excited for all 3 of these guys. I don't think we could put any of them any higher just because we haven't seen anything consistently good. I feel like Michael Penix Jr., he hasn't been given the opportunity. And for May and Williams, I think we're just going to see them unlock more potential this year with better coaching, better surrounding cast for May, but just better coaching mostly for Williams. And so, that moves us into our 8th tier. Our 8th tier is titled Redemption Arc, with a question mark. And this is a group of 5 guys that I think their reputations are on the line this year. I think they're not necessarily on the chopping block, but I think it is a prove-it year for all 5 of these guys, and there's a lot on the line for them. Maybe it's not like their career will be instantly over, but this is like a make it or break it season for these 5 individuals. So, starting off with the redemption arc tier, we're gonna go with Justin Fields. Now, Fields, he didn't have a bad season by any means last year when he was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He did a handy job of keeping them in winning position. I think he played 6 games and they went 4-2. Like, he did his job to a T. And then, even though they were doing really well, they still had Russ come in and take over. And I think ultimately that was the right decision because he unlocked more of the offense for them. And so, right now, we're still kind of looking at Fields as more of a runner than a passer. Like, I don't think that passing game was really being utilized as much until Russell Wilson entered the picture. And even then, they would bring in Fields on, like, run plays and things like that as, like, a one-trick pony. And I would like to see him shed off that reputation. I think as a runner, he has proven he is exceptional. He has a rush for 1,000 yards in a season. But as a passer, I think it's still unproven. And so now, a fresh start with the Jets. This is his chance to show the league what he really could be. Because so far, when he was in Chicago, I kind of got dumped pretty quick. And he just didn't break out quick enough. And then even though he was doing well, he was given a short leash in Pittsburgh. And yeah, once the guy, Russ, was back, they just kicked him to the sidelines. I feel like he's done a relatively good job of keeping his chin high this far in his career. And so I would like to see him go to New York and kind of take that next step. But it's all on his shoulders right now. New York, they've got some blame here because I feel like Garrett Wilson plus Brees Hall, it's not a bad offense. But you have to wonder about the line, and we'll see how good of a head coach that Aaron Glenn ends up being. But definitely, I would say, if this doesn't go well, I mean, the Jets are so used to it that it doesn't matter. But, like, after these first 2 years, I think they would, if this year doesn't go well, if it's not over for him this year, it's over for him next year. He'll be relegated to a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. Next up, we have Bryce Young. Bryce Young definitely, like, on the up, at least right now. Yeah, he started off low. Pretty low all throughout his rookie year. Then we hit year 2, and it was bad. It was just bad. They brought in the new pieces. They brought in Deontay Johnson. Stuff was not working. And I think the all-time low for him was Bryce Young getting benched and Andy Dalton immediately coming in and making this offense look electric. It was a bad look. Despite that, he managed to make it through the Andy Dalton benching. Andy Dalton eventually would not be eternally successful. That's the Bryce Young slid back into the QB position, and he played the best ball of his career. Like, definitely towards the end there, he was having them in close games, winning some games. They almost took the Chiefs down to the wire and beat them. It was awesome. I really liked it for Bryce Young. I think it's a very good feels-good story. And I think he has earned yet another chance, because it totally looked like they were about to give up on him early. And he went out there and he got his second win. So now it's really his opportunity to show, like, heading into year 3, you've rode with me for 2 years as a Brady. This is the year that I break out. I truly do it. I think this is it. Like, I don't think that he makes it into a year 4. Well, let's see. I feel like he has to prove himself this year. I do think that it's like, I don't know if it's the hard reset button, but if they're like, if they're in the bottom of the barrel situation once again, where it's like 6 wins or less, then it's like, come on, man. Come on. He needs some for career progression. So, I do think that this is his redemption arc. He needs to complete it. He's in the midst of it. He's done half the work. His reputation is on the up again, but he has to build off of the way that he was playing last year towards the end. Because if he starts sinking again, I don't think it'll be good for him. I think that the Panthers will once again bench him and then maybe look to move him. And there's no guarantee that if he does poorly this year that he's starting again. And another similar situation, year 3 guy really needs to go out and prove it. Anthony Richardson for sure on this redemption arc category, because I think this is it. He also had the same thing where he went out, didn't do well, team was underperforming, they pulled him for Joe Flacco. Well, I think maybe Joe Flacco did half decent, and then AR went back out, they didn't like him, they pulled him, put in Joe Flacco did bad, and then they put AR back out, and it's like, at least he re-won their trust. They realized, let's see what we have in him towards the end of the year. So, I don't think that he really did all that great after going back in. It's not like he was like Bryce Young, where he was on the up at the end of the year, but I think it's good that they're making it a QB competition that I think he is expected to start still. And I would like to see something out of him. I feel like for him, it's harder because, like, we've seen him sidelined for so much. I hope he stays healthy. That's all I really hope. But if he stays healthy the whole year and he is not giving them like at least 60% completion rating and some more, really it's the accuracy. I feel like in the running game, he's great. I think he has a good deep ball, but I think we need to see that middle of the field short pass accuracy that he just doesn't have yet, and I'm hoping he develops it this year. Then the 4th quarterback in this tier, this is Trevor Lawrence. While I don't think the Jaguars would move on from him after a bad year this year, I do think it would heavily impact how the franchise views him. I think when they gave him the max contract, it was like hey, we've seen what you can do. We know that you're going to get better. And I think he can't manage to do worse at this point. This point in his career, like when the Daniel Jones comparisons are coming out, you're being clowned on. It is not a good look. And I do think that he is significantly better than Daniel Jones. I think there are a lot of teams in the league that if he were for some reason made available, they would take a swing at him. They would think that this guy is so good in college. We've seen him have success in the NFL. We just need to get him a good surrounding cast. But I think, like, truly by the media he's been in the league for a good minute now, and they made the playoffs and won that one game. But outside of that, it's like he's just not living up to his price. So I think it's a big prove-it year for him. If they can even have an average year, I think that's a win. But if he has a bad year, I think it's not going to be a good look for Trevor Lawrence and company. I don't think that the Jags would be silly enough to move on immediately. I think they'd still see him till the end of his contract. But I think that they would start considering the possibility that, like, he's not their guy. And finally, the fifth and final quarterback in this category, who does have a much different redemption to chase than the other four. This is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is chasing the reputation redemption. I think his reputation at this point is in the dumpster. Like, in Green Bay, I think he had haters, but he had his haters. He went out and won those 2 MVPs, and then had that one down here. And so, like, he had hate, but he was still playing exceptional football. Then he went to New York, and it was supposed to spark their revitalization. They were finally supposed to be a good and relevant franchise, but it's just like, between COVID and his ayahuasca and all the off-season drama, and now coming into Pittsburgh, it's once again like everyone knows he's going to Pittsburgh, but he won't sign, but he's going to the minicamp and the OTAs, but he hasn't officially spoken about it, and he's like calling his last dance already, saying like this will probably be the last year of his career. It's just like Aaron Rodgers. I think a lot of people really despise the way that he's been carrying himself, and those 2 years in New York were so damaging because you were by far the best quarterback they had laid their hands upon in the last decade, and you did nothing. You got hurt, which albeit is not your fault, but in your 1 year where you could do something, it was just week after week of disappointment. Like, they go out, get to a semi-decent record, and then it's just downhill. And then it's like, oh, well, fire our offensive coordinator, still going down. Well, fire head coach is going down. We'll get Devontae Adams, still going down. It's just, it never panned out. It never got better. And his play towards the end of the year was solid, but it was just a huge disappointment through and through. And now with the Steelers, rather than people being hopped up on the success, I think everyone is just like, why did the Steelers do this? You bring in an ego and attitude into like a place that's supposed to be no nonsense. And it's like, it's not even a conversation of like, will they be better? It's just like, will he snap Mike Tomlin's losing streak, his winning streak? Will he, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the discourse around him is negative, and you know it's a 1-year rental, so it's like, if I were the Steelers, realistically, Russell Wilson for 3 years would have been way better than whatever Aaron Rodgers is going to give you for 1 year. That's just my take. This is the direction they decided to go. I can kind of see why they want to go with Fields, but I think a lot of the fans did want Fields. But I think of all the different directions you could have gone for quarterback, this is the one where, like, the least amount of people are on your side, and that's why I think there's the most proof. And so I think if Aaron Rodgers can go out there, deliver a full year of good football, get them to the playoffs, not win the division, but get them to the playoffs, and win a playoff game, if he can be the quarterback that finally lets them win a playoff game in like the last 7 years, I think his reputation is somewhat restored. I think he has redeemed himself. Because season record, then he's actually go out and win them a playoff game. But truth be told, he can, with who they have around, I think it's good enough. I think he could go out there, get to the playoff. Winning the game is tough. I wouldn't say that he is necessarily going to do that, but I could see the Steelers team for sure making the playoffs, and then it really is on him to shake all this noise and heat and get that one win. And I think after that, anything else is bonus. I don't think that anyone really thinks that the Steelers are a playoff threat. If they get the one, you've exceeded expectations. Attaboy, go retire. So I think that's the kind of like end of career redemption we're looking at for Aaron Rodgers, but not really anything more than that. Gotta take a quick sip. Alright, so moving into our ninth tier in our tier list, we have the Lots to Prove tier. And Lots to Prove is different from Redemption Arc because Redemption Arc is going from a low to a high. We're talking about people whose career are established and definitively hit a low point and they're trying to build back up. Lots to Prove is different because these guys haven't had their careers take off yet. They just have a lot of weight on their shoulders. And so the three guys in this tier are going to be number one, JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy, I think, is in a very difficult spot at this moment. I think had last year not happened, there are people who would not have the same amount of pressure and expectation out of him. He was going to be the franchise guy. He was going to come in, hopefully take over after Kirk Cousins, and they're going to let him work it out in year one, but hopefully build towards the future. Be the guy that can long-term throw it to Jefferson and Addison. But I think the Sam Darnold year kind of threw off their timeline where it's like their roster is good. You plugged in Sam Darnold. Obviously, he had a much better season than the rest of his career, but like this is a 14-win team. The coaching staff, the pieces, they're all right there. So if he doesn't go in and deliver, their window is ticking, their clock is ticking. People are gonna be very, very upset with him if he goes out and makes a lot of silly rookie mistakes, which is not his fault. He hasn't gotten a chance to get those out. But I think because of how well they did last year, it's gonna put them in a position where everyone is really harking on JJ McCarthy because they know how good the team is. And yeah, it's just like I don't think he's gonna be given the same patience as any of the other first year guys or any of the rookies were last year. He is in an exceptionally pressure-filled environment, and he's gonna get a lot of, maybe not hate from Vikings fans, but he's gonna get a lot of hate. I feel like if he doesn't go out there and have like a Bo Nix type year, because it's the best receiver in football, and Sam Darnold could do it, so why can't you? Next up, we're gonna go with the number one overall pick in Cam Ward of the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans having this pick, going with Ward, it wasn't really a surprise. Just in the months building up to the draft, you heard that Tennessee was gonna go with Ward. That was their guy. A little bit of shake up here where they said like, we're not gonna pass on generational talent, and so that led to people speculating they're gonna go with Travis Hunter, but their quarterback last year, Will Levis, was trash, and they knew they can't do that any further, so they need a quarterback, and they went and got their quarterback, and I think it's the right decision. Now it's just a matter of like Levis. If you can outplay Will Levis and not look as stupid as him, you're doing fine. This team doesn't have much talent at all. I wouldn't say the running back room is okay, but outside of Calvin Ridley, it's kind of a weak roster, I would say. I'm not expecting him to be able to do that much with what's there, but if he can get positive headlines around him, that's better than Will Levis, because it's not like Will Levis was going unnoticed and being boring. He was straight up playing bad football, and he was getting a meme made out of him every single week. So if Cam Ward can go out there and like just have more touchdowns than interceptions and like not throw a pick six in multiple weeks in a row, he's doing well enough. But I do think there's a lot to prove as the number 1 overall pick, and just living up to that reputation of being the number 1. There's always going to be people who look back and say like, it's the most bustable position, because like you need to have a lot of success to be considered a worthwhile first pick of the draft. So if he doesn't go out and ball out eventually, it's gonna look bad. So I think he has a lot to prove, and hopefully he can do a little bit better than what Caleb Williams was last year, though he has a much worse supporting cast. And finally, the third and final guy in this category, who we don't even know if he's gonna make a start, but this is Shadur Sanders. Shadur Sanders, that draft slide was something. I don't know what Dion said in those interviews. I don't know what Shadur did in those interviews to get knocked all the way down to the 5th round, where the Browns themselves took another quarterback before him. But he has so much to prove. He has to fight so hard to actually get this chance. I do think it's possible we see him at some point this season take a snap for the Browns, but once he gets that opportunity, it's going to be a challenge to show them like, hey man, make me the quarterback, and then after making him the quarterback, go into him next year, and then eventually work his way up to the franchise guy. Because like, you look at Cam Ward, he's already given that sort of grace, where it's like, we're starting you off with the idea that you will be our franchise guy, and hopefully you live up to that. With Shadur, it's like you're the 5th quarterback on this roster. You really need to go out and beat every single one of those guys around you first, and then have more success. So it's just like the absolute hill he needs to climb, and I hope that he does. I hope that he's able to go out and achieve that, but it's like a long road ahead for him. So yeah, all three of these guys, different kinds of pressure, different kinds of weight on their shoulders heading into the season, but I think these guys have definitely, of the young bunch, the most to prove. And that brings us into our 10th category, and our 10th category is titled Sit Still, Look Pretty, and these are our pretty young boys, our rookie quarterbacks that I don't think have as much to prove. I think that they can just sit back, relax, and just get to watch their starters perform. That they really have no weight on their shoulders. If they have to take a snap, then it's really just a test run, I would say. It's like the year has gone really bad for whoever was supposed to be in that starting position. But I don't think anyone is expecting these guys to go in and make an impact like JJ and Cam Ward. They need to make an impact in year 1, or else people will talk about it. If any of these 4 guys don't make an impact, I don't think people will be that phased, because there's no expectation. So just sit on the paycheck, collect check, maybe take a couple of victory formation snaps, maybe try and ball out in the preseason. And outside of that, just like be ready for the call if it comes. So first up, we got Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, third quarterback in his room. I know that they were kind of high on him. They took him in the first round. So yes, I think at some point we will see Jackson Dart play quarterback for the Giants. But realistically, I don't think it'll be this year. Because Russell Wilson, unless he goes down with injury, I don't think he's going to be so bad that they bench him. Like, I really don't think he's capable of playing that bad in this year. But say he does get hurt, then I think it's going to go to Jameis Winston. Because it's just like, Jameis Winston is fun for a little bit. And I think eventually the Giants are going to be like, okay, the season is doomed. Wilson's out. He's not coming back till next year. Jameis, it was fun, but we're over this. Let's see what we have for these last 3 games with Jackson Dart. That's really the only way I see him taking snaps. I don't think there's any other way that he would be playing. But I think there's also a reality where we don't see him play out at all this rookie year, and I think that's fine. Next up, Jalen Milroe on the Seahawks. Yeah, nothing improved in year 1. They just got Darnold. Darnold is expected to be that guy. He signed to a 3-year deal, so it's not like Seattle is really expecting Milroe to do anything yet. But there is a team option. Or, I don't know if that terminology is quite right, but it's just like a lot of Darnold's contract after the first year is not guaranteed, so they can move away from him pretty well if it just ends up being a dumpster fire, which I think is smart by Seattle, just in case he looks like his New York Jets, Carolina Panthers self. So if that's the case, or if he goes down with injury, then maybe we'll see Jalen Milroe get to play some quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. But right now, I don't think there's any sort of expectation or really even affinity for him to play for the first 2 years, maybe year 3 if Darnold's not living up. But as of right now, I think he's just there to be a younger backup that they can train for later on. And number 3 in this tier is Dylan Gabriel. I think with Dylan Gabriel, they took him honestly. Not even because they're high. I don't know. Dylan Gabriel. Not to say he wasn't good, but it's just like, if I'm the Browns, I would rather start Shadur. I just feel like it's one of those things where you know how much the NFL is going to potentially adore if Shadur pans out. I think that Shadur is a big name. All the controversy, all the drama that comes with it. Yes, it's a headache, but at the same time, your franchise is a headache. You guys are so silly all the time. So it's like he's matching your energy. So you got Shadur in the 5th. I feel like you're better off just starting him if it gets to the point in that depth chart where you're really considering starting Dylan Gabriel. And if Shadur gets hurt, then plugging Gabriel, who cares? But I really think, personally, Gabriel should be the 5th guy on this lineup. So I don't think that we need to see him play any football in this year. But if he does, he does. And hopefully he balls out. And then finally, we've got Will Howard. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers said it's his last year. I think he just needs to drain from Rodgers, and Howard can learn whatever he needs to learn. Hopefully he picks up some good skills. Not any extracurriculars from Rodgers. But Will Howard, I don't think has anything to worry about this year, unless we have a New York Jets situation again, where Rodgers goes down with like a broken labrum or something. And so, yeah, if it's like last year where Aaron Rodgers is around but bad, I don't think that they're going to bench Rodgers. I think they're just going to stick with him and just see what happens. And Howard just not going to have to touch the ball at all until next season. Alright, so next up we have our 11th 11th tier in this tier list, and this one is just titled Saints. No other way around it. It's just called Saints. I think that they deserve their own tier because it's, as I've expressed, the worst quarterback room in the league. I think these guys are tanking because none of the guys on the roster are franchise worthy, and they're not even worth keeping them relevant. This is the Las Vegas Raiders of 2025, and yeah, you've just got two guys in here, Spencer Rattler and Tyler Slow. I have no faith in either of these quarterbacks. I think we saw a lot of Rattler last year. I don't think we saw anything good. I think we saw only mid to bad, like the other quarterbacks that took snaps. We got Daniels, who was phenomenal. We got Bo Nix, who was very good. Penix, May, Caleb Williams all had games in which they showed greatness, even though it wasn't like necessarily great all throughout. I don't think there was a single game where Spencer Rattler was like, oh, he's dominating. Oh, this guy is like the guy for the same. No. Bad. When is Derek Carr coming back? Good Lord, get the team away from this guy. And yeah, I don't think that they have anyone that, I don't know, if Tyler Slow comes out, it would be such a shocker if he was good. But he's so old, and that, like, yes, you can be old and good like Bo Nix, but the thing is, like, Bo Nix was good in college. Everyone knew about Bo Nix in college, and he was a name coming into the NFL. Tyler Slow is not like that. Louisville quarterback, I don't think he had any, like, really good hype for his play. He only had hype because he was old, and because he got taken as high as he did. Whereas, like, really, this guy over Shadur, what was it, Tobias Harris over me, type B. So, I don't know, I think that these guys, it would be astounding if this is a bad take, but I do think this is like the worst team, worst quarterback room in football. Both of these guys, if they can do anything, it would be miraculous. But I think, like, if either of these guys are even in a quarterback competition for next year, they are so beyond the expectation. I think that they will completely clear house. They'll bring in a rookie quarterback and they'll bring in a veteran next year, and one of these guys will get relegated to third on that depth chart. I don't think either of these guys are deserving of top two. And finally, we get to tier number 12 of 13, and this is the boom or bust category. This is a personal favorite of mine. This, I think, will be especially fun for fantasy, but I think this really is the best way to describe the kind of backups that these three dudes are. These are guys that are on your roster. You're not expecting them to make a start. But if it gets to that point in the season where someone goes down and these guys have to go in, you're either getting 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, or an interception on 4 straight drives, and it's like maybe something in between, but really it's like they have extreme highs and they have extreme lows, and you don't know what you're gonna get. It's a wild card. It's a complete wild card, and it's like they're fun. They're fun to plug and play. They might give you some really good offense for like a couple games, but they also could be the complete detriment to your team, and then you'll bench them for another guy. Number 1, Joe Flacco. I think that perfectly describes Joe Flacco at this point in his career. Deep ball. Astounding. Like, he's saw it 2 years ago with the Browns. Stepped in for Watson, kept the Browns in playoff contention. Magnificent stretch of games. Amari Cooper looked like a beast. David Njoku looked like a beast. Won comeback player of the year just of how good he was playing in that 10-game stretch. And yeah, kind of imploded in that playoff game. And once again, did kind of well in the first little bit with the Colts, and then came back out and did not look good once again. So here we have him on the Browns. He goes out. Wait, no. Is he? He's back on the Browns. Watson, Pickett, Flacco, Gabriel Sanders. Yeah, he's back. If he goes out there and he starts, it's like maybe he'll bring that same juice of 2 years ago. Maybe not. He's capable of it. He's capable of 300 yards, multiple touchdowns. Also capable, as we saw in that playoff game, just straight picks. So, not a viable full season guy, but you could plug him in for 3 games and maybe he'd be good for all 3. Which is the same story for Jameis Winston. Man, I am actually really upset that the Giants went this way with their offseason. I was really looking forward to Jameis Winston being the QB1 in New York before they brought in Wilson, before they brought in Dart. I thought it was going to be so much fun seeing Jameis Winston throw to like neighbors. It was going to light up the football world. It was going to feed families. We get to see Jameis Winston in the biggest city in the country playing. And it would have just been beautiful. I love getting to watch Jameis Winston play football. But, yeah, that's not the case. So if Russ goes down, I think we get to see some Jameis magic. But for now, it's like he really is just a boomer bust guy on the sideline. And yeah, that's very much him as well. Could throw a pick 6 in back-to-back drives. Could also, I think, get neighbors to 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns this season if he wanted to. So we'll see. But he's definitely a interception magician. And finally, the third and final guy who, career-wise, I would never think of him in this way, but based on last year, I think that's where we are with this guy. We got Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, after last year, I don't think we can say he's a starter in this league anymore. He had that 400-yard, 5-touchdown game in week 6 against the Bucks, where it was like, all right, Kirk, welcome back. Kirk Cousins, we've been waiting for you to turn up in Atlanta, and he did. And then he went cold. Like I've never seen before. He went 5 games without a touchdown, and that's just unacceptable. So, bench for good reason. Penix is the guy. Maybe we see him traded. I don't know if they can, or what the deal is with his contract and how much they lose in dead money, or what happens if they trade him. I also don't know who wants him, so you're just paying for a really expensive backup at this point. But he has that ability. We saw it last year. He can go in. He can throw for 405 touchdowns. He can also throw 6 interceptions and no touchdowns in 3 straight games. So, yeah, boomer bust. And finally, we have made it to our 13th and last category, our last tier, and this is the trash tier. These are 5 guys that I absolutely do not want to see on the football field. If I am a fan of this team and I see this guy lining up under center, I am losing all hope instantly. I'm going to be so mad that we've gotten to this point in the season. Number 1, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, I don't care anymore. football, and with the way that he played last year, and him getting hurt 2 seasons ago, I think we can call it quits. I think we can easily say that, like, the best thing he can do is retire, because he had that Texans. He had a brief moment in time where he was really beloved by the football world. And then the allegations came out, and it was like, some people defending him, some people not. Hard to say. Hard to say what was truly happening at that point in time. But then the whole year that he didn't play, then the Browns playing all that money to go get him. And yes, they were successful when he was on the field in the first 2 years, but there's just been injuries. And then once again, another major injury. And last year when he went out, bro was trash. The offense sucked. So now it's just like, just move on. Like, you're picking at scraps. You can accept that you made a horrible decision giving him all that guaranteed money when he hadn't played football in over a year. And it's just like the Browns. You have to accept that you screwed up. And I think the best thing to do at this point is dump him. If he plays another snap, I'm not even wishing him success. It's just like, bro deserves to lose at this point. I think, it's just been, I think everyone involved deserves to lose. Watson and the Browns. This is a toxic combo. It's like, I don't think people are going to be rooting for Deshaun Watson to be playing winning football in Cleveland. I don't think that's the direction that people want this organization to go anymore. It's done. It's dead. If there's anyone on this Browns roster that I'm rooting for, it's Shedder. Honestly. So I'd like to see them go out with him at some point and see if it's worthwhile. But I think with Deshaun Watson, it's like, you paid all that money, you're kind of beating in a dead horse. You put him out there, see what happens. But like, I really want, if I was a Browns fan, I don't want the humiliation anymore. He is a nightmare. He is a bad ex that I would never want to see again. And that brings us to our next guy. We've got Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett, he hasn't done anything wrong. I think he just plays a boring, unsexy brand of football, and I wouldn't want him quarterbacking my team. At this point, he is a backup. He is fully a backup. If we get to this point in the lineup, something has gone wrong. Once again, it's like, if you're gonna put in a backup, put in Joe Flacco. Like, who are you running with at the start of the season? I don't know. I think Joe Flacco to start is also kind of bad, because it's like, are you gonna really play him the whole year? He's a great sub-in guy. I don't know who their starter guy is. I feel like if you play Watson, it's kind of bad. If it's Pickett, it's bad. I don't know. The Cleveland Browns are kind of in, like, honestly, Dylan Gabriel might be their most viable guy to start at the start of the season. And it makes no sense, because I said he sits still, look pretty, he might not play a single snap, but it's just like, it's such a circus show in Cleveland, man. It's like you're kind of almost have to hope that Shedder is like a massive underdog story, because if you imagine if you, like, everyone sucks, all 4 guys ahead of him on the depth chart suck, and you finally get the Shedder, and he sucks too. That would just be so heart-wrenching. I don't think the city of Cleveland can take it anymore. So, I don't know. I'm rooting for Shedder. I hope that he has that comeback, that bounce back. If not him, I hope Dylan Gabriel. But I don't think that Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, or Deshaun Watson are the answer for a season-long run for the Browns to be even half decent. Next up, we got Will Levis. Will Levis is not good, man. I know that he has the shoulder injury, so that's not really a worry anymore. So, I could have left him off, but I do think it's like if he had been healthy and somehow he takes a snap over a Cam Ward, something has gone terribly wrong, either injury or like how bad would Cam Ward have to play that you really look at Will Levis and decide, yeah, this is better. Like Cam Ward would have to be throwing balls to the cheerleaders, to the other coaching staff, to the defense 5 times in a row. Like, you would have to be putting up prime Nathan Peterman numbers every game for us to see him get benched for Will Levis. And if not, it's injury, so either way, it's a lose-lose. Will Levis should not be seeing the football field. And then next, we got Mason Rudolph. Rudolph, man. I don't want to see Mason Rudolph once again. Kind of like Kenny Pickett, just that brand of Steelers, unsexy football. This guy's not a starter. How are you winning with him? I don't want to see this guy play. Like, he's just not that good. You're just a good team, good coaching staff, and you're getting the job done. But I would rather see Aaron Rodgers play than Mason Rudolph any given day of the week. And Will Howard, if it's late in the season, if you're like week 15 and onwards, yeah, I'd rather see Will Howard play. I don't want to see Mason Rudolph playing for the Steelers. And finally, we got Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones' reputation in the gutter is fighting for starter reps with Anthony Richardson. But it's like, if Daniel Jones has earned the starting position on this team, it's either you've called it quits on Anthony Richardson because he's playing that trash, or he's hurt again. And either way, it means that the Anthony Richardson experiment was a failure. So, either way, I would be disappointed. I don't want to see Daniel Jones by any means necessary. I want to see as little of him as possible if I'm the Colts. And yeah, that is all. That is all 13 tiers of the quarterback tier list heading into the 2025-2026 season. Quite extensive. Let me know what you think. I feel like there are a lot more tiers than there were last year, and in some ways it's maybe too intricate, and in other ways maybe it's well thought out. I feel like there are certain tiers I really do feel good about. I feel like the redemption arc tier is money. And above it, I feel pretty good about the way that the guys are arranged. I definitely had to go through a lot of iterations of this. And at this point, I'm kind of blind to it. I don't know what the best, like, I don't have the fresh set of eyes anymore, so I need your help. I need you to explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old imbecile and be like, why is this guy over here and this guy over here? Because, like, I've looked at this too long, and this is just the way that I see it at this point. So please do share your thoughts and opinions and who I'm criminally underrating or massively overrating. I would love to hear what you have to say. Or if you think the list is perfect. If you think the list is perfect, by all means, feel free to comment that as well. Though I think there's a far-fetched chance that is true. Yeah. Thank you once again for joining me for this video.